If you would like to have your query letter critiqued, but you don't want to pay to have that happen, it can be done for free, but it will be public out here on all my socials. My name is Jean. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. Information on how to submit will be at the end, but please remember there's a real life person on the other side of this query, so everybody be nice and don't tell them to just self-publish because that's not how this works. Let's jump in. Finished at 118,000 words, Manifested is a standalone dark fantasy romance with serious potential, perfect for fans of Faith Hunter, Kelly Hart, and Jean L. Maxwell. Mary Galdur needs to decide between risking mental enslavement or thrusting her family into a world of folk tales, unknown dangers, and rebellion. This is false stakes. So either she risks ruining her whole life and everything is terrible, or she puts her family into magic land. That is, we all know what she's going to pick. So these are false stakes, and this usually shows up at the end of the query letter. You've put them right up here at the top so we can get them out of the way right from the beginning, so I would yoink that out. To use her as a weapon, Ivalo Rashnovic must control his primal instincts and gain Mari's trust. That also doesn't really tell us a whole lot about this, so I don't know which primal instincts. I don't know how he's going to gain her trust. I would rather not have this up here and just dive straight in with the character stuff like normal. All right, Mari's challenging life as a mother and nurse is upended when her abusive ex invades the house, invades her life. I don't know that that's quite the right verb. The threat triggers uncontrollable innate magic, allowing her to blast him out of the house. Oh, he invaded the house. So triggered uncontrollable innate magic. She blasted him out of the house. That's a cool bit, like that as an opener. Appearing soon after, a handsome stranger wants to transport them to a new world and teach her to harness his power. This is a portal fantasy. Unwilling to upend their life for the unknown, Mari agrees to train to so she's training, learning how to harness her power. Okay, I didn't really get the train up here, but okay. Mari agrees to train only if they stay in familiar surroundings. So she wants to escape an abusive relationship, and a white knight savior shows up to transport her away. So this is portal fantasy for grown-ups. Ivalo is the general of a rebel militia and alpha of his Kolak werewolf pack in magical Bulgaria. Oh, this is now me not knowing how to pronounce fantasy words and real words in the real world. Great. Feeling the strongest manifestation wave in generations. I don't know what that means. He jumps to Washington, D.C. to obtain a weapon that could end the oppressive regime. What oppressive regime? What does it mean to jump to Washington? Is that like a literal magical jump? Or is this like just a phrase that you're using? Like he jumps on a plane and goes. In fantasy, sometimes we have to be a little more careful with our word choices. We can't use like creative turns of phrase because it's like, well, he flew across the room. Did he literally fly across the room? Because in fantasy, that's possible. In fantasy, this guy could have jumped to Washington, D.C. from Bulgaria. So we need to be clear, is that part of the magic, or did you use a phrase that you didn't mean to use? He didn't count on his inner wolf's instant obsessive attraction to the woman. I think you can just say Mari. Like, we know that if you've listed two characters as POV characters in the query, we know that they are going to interact. I don't think you need to like beat around the bush like this. You just say that it's Mari. Avalo's violent responsibilities continue to damage his soul, while Mari's quiet life provides a comforting contrast. Even so, he struggles to balance the needs of his people and respect for Mari's autonomy. I don't know what that means. So he is trying to obtain a weapon, and so you set up in the opener that he's going to use her as a weapon. So he needs to bring her back to Bulgaria. I think just be more clear about what you are saying here. This sounds like we haven't, like you are assuming that everybody knows what your book is about already, and we need to assume that everybody knows nothing about your book. As he works to gain her trust, Mari falls into old habits and distractions. So is this werewolf guy now just like living in her apartment or her house or whatever it is here? This now feels like maybe there's a really complicated setup and we're going to spend too much time. I'm not sure here. As he works to gain her trust, Mari falls into old habits and distractions, self-medicating with rough sex and constant occupation of what? Work. It's not long before panic and depression return. To save the woman he has fallen for. Oh, so he works to gain her trust. So we're like bouncing back and forth between POVs here. To save the woman he has fallen for and her potentially powerful children, Ivalo has to lean on the instincts he fears, though his wolf is insistent, then we typed his name wrong, refuses to jump them to the magical world without her consent. So is Bulgaria Is Bulgaria a real place? My kids always use this joke of like saying that other real places are not real to like mess with each other. So, is Bulgaria is there magical Bulgaria? Is that different from real world Bulgaria? Is there magical world within it? This is not super clear what's going on here. And I'm not sure that you need to clarify that. You maybe just need to say this in a way that feels less confusing. Struggling out of the dark pit of her mind and relying on someone else proves the greatest challenge of Mari's life. If they can learn to trust, the two may create a family from their broken pieces, find a passionate ever after, and strengthen the magical rebellion. So I don't really know enough about what this rebellion is that you are referring to. And those false stakes that you put up at the top, they don't feel accurate to what the story is. Like, I don't know what mental enslavement means in this context. I thought you were setting up something fantastical, like that she would be literally like enslaved in her mind, like hooked up to the Matrix type thing. But you've got like a story where she's just trying to learn how to trust again after having been in an abusive relationship. And she wants to protect her children, but she has a big reason to get out of town. Like, her abusive ex is still coming around and like breaking into the house constantly. She is struggling. Why wouldn't she want to like get away and go to Portal Fantasy Land, right? Like, this is why Portal Fantasies are so popular with the middle grade group, because kids who are in bad family situations want to escape. This woman's in a bad situation. She would want to escape. But then we're not playing on that trope the way that that genre gets used, right? Like, this is the reason why Portal Fantasy exists, and you're not using it that way. So now the false stakes seem like, what's keeping her here? What's making her want to stay in Washington, D.C., where her ex is bursting into the house and she's in danger all of the time and her children are in danger? If she could go be powerful woman in other, like, this is a little like the kids in Narnia were like, nah, we'll just go back. We don't want to do any of this. Or like Harry Potter is like, nah, I don't want to go to Hogwarts. I'm going to stay. So like, you have the character who is being offered the chance to escape and like go be powerful, but she is just like, no, don't want to. I'm worried that there's not enough story there. All right, Mary's fight is familiar. I know firsthand the difficulty and rewards of trust in a healthy relationship after experiencing cruelty and indifference. Featuring a 30-something fighting mental health, it provides a refreshing change from the unrealistic 20-year-old protagonists. Okay, so this tells me that you're not reading a ton off of book talk, like you're reading a lot of book talk type books and not like what's actually out there in the market. Male protagonist will satisfy readers who love the unhinged golden retriever energy. So a lot of agents are not as like chronically online. And so using sort of like this all tells me that you're on book talk a lot, that you have not branched out away from that. And so that, I mean, if you're saying my book is unique simply because I have a 30-something protagonist, you're going to have to do a little bit more reading within your genre outside of the stuff that the algorithm is feeding you. I think you've got a great concept here. I love the idea of like portal for adults who are trying to escape real things. Oftentimes the portal fantasies that I see are like dudes stuck in a job that they don't love and they want to live up to their potential that they were told they had when they were in high school, and they want to like relive the glory days with a sword in their hands, or like go back and be the hero but in a much more big and fantastical way. That's a much more common portal fantasy for adults. This is a better portal fantasy. This woman has something genuine to escape from and has something genuine to run towards as well. This could be a really fantastic adventure. This is much more about like stepping into her power, or if it was much more about like her stepping into her power rather than like hemming and hawing on the seam here and like trying to decide which version of herself she's going to be. That's more of like a YA theme. I think if you can revisit this and like structure it in a way that is like portal fantasy for adults, you've got a cool concept. Information to submit for this is in my link tree underneath the query critique submissions. If you don't want to do this publicly, I do have an editing business in which we can do this, in private, offline, and we go back and forth. You get 3 rounds of editing, or you can buy my querying course. It's 3.5 hours of original content for only $30, and you can teach yourself this entire process from start to finish.